Hello, YouTube. It's Lion here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another interview with Alex from Tentai Books. Now, we have done one of these before, so you guys can check it out up there in the card if you want to see the first one. But yeah, Alex from Tentai Books is here with us today. Alex, how are you? I hope you're doing all right. All right.
Yeah, the crunch week is over, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty much I'm still living, I'm still breathing. So I guess we're here, we're fine.
Yeah, that's great, man. Good to hear. Yeah, it's been rough over here as well. Texas froze over for like a week, and it's been super, super cold. We didn't have power or electricity or anything like that. It was really bad. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, so let's just jump into it. Alex, can you start off by telling us a little bit about, yourself, how you got into light novels and stuff, as well as Tentai books in general, if you could?
Well, okay, it's fine for me. I got into light novels like what 5 years ago or something like that. I was one of those kids that was just watching like random stuff in anime, right? And one of
Mhm.
these characters was reading a book, and he was like, "Oh no, please let me read my light novels," right? And that's when I started to look into the media, right? And my first light novel actually was Tanya,
Saga of Evil.
the Yo-Yo Senki, the one
Yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah.
anime. And I read the English version, and I thought it
Mhm.
was pretty good. And ever since then, I've not been I didn't get hooked, like very hooked, right until like not long ago, to be honest,
Mhm.
like maybe 2 years at the most. And until then I was very involved with visual novels, right? Like the other genre that is kind of similar to light novels, but it's not as similar as you would as I would like it to be, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I used to translate over there because I learned Japanese to translate these games.
Mhm.
And that's how I got the idea that I wanted to make a company to release things in English, basically, for the English speaking world, right? Because that's what I've been doing all my life.
Mhm.
Let's just put it that way. Like great portion of my life has just been translation and learning Japanese for the craft, right?
Cool.
And I at first I wanted to do a visual novel company, but we had so many issues to actually get to license anything. The market was already oversaturated with too
Mhm.
many companies, and there was no opening whatsoever, right? So we gave up, and we said, well, like, why don't we try line novels, right? And that proved to be not super easy,
Mhm.
but at least we had an opening to actually get in, right? And that's how we started, and that's how it started. The company started basically.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So basically it was like you guys had an opening with that one that you didn't have with visual novels, right? So you guys kind of got into it.
Hmm.
Cool. Well, yeah. Sorry we made you kind of rehash that. You did say this in the last interview, but just for, everyone
It's fine.
getting into it. So, yeah, I have a few questions here. It's about 7 questions. We shouldn't take too long, but yeah, so the first question is, you guys have been around for almost a year now, which is kind of crazy. I it's I think it's been like 10 months, right? So, coming onto the scene and almost being a year old, how have you seen the reception to you guys' company? Like, did you expect it to be as good as it has been? Did you expect it to be more? How have you felt about how people react to you guys?
Mm, well, the company actually started existing like more than a year ago, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We started September 2019, I think.
Oh,
That's when the
okay.
company
Mm-hmm.
started. Like publicly, obviously, we're not 1 year old yet, but we have existed for more than a year now. Um, I actually wasn't expecting the huge amount of support we actually got. Like honestly, I thought we were gonna get like not even like a third of the sales we got, right, in total
Mm-hmm.
for all of the titles, especially the flagship title that we have, which is side character, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a huge eye opener because I thought, well, I mean, as long as we stay fine, afloat,
Mm-hmm.
neutral, right, we'll be fine. But it's been way more than that, and it's very appreciated. Like like I'm very happy with how things have been going so far. Like very happy. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, it's also kind of interesting that, since you came onto the scene when it was kind of like a little bit established already and people have been around and there's YouTubers and there's coverage of it, you did get a lot of exposure really early on, right? With like,
Yeah, I think it was because of the Spanish mainly, but also because you don't really see. very small companies pop up out of nowhere, right? I
Mhm.
think it was because we gave everyone a surprise out of nowhere, especially with the things we got and we licensed. Like I wasn't expecting people to actually be surprised about my choices, and I guess that's what gave us a boost. But like the intention is to keep people happy, right? And to keep licensing things that the readers that follow us like would
Mhm.
like to keep reading, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. So it's kind of interesting though. Like when we first talked, you did say that your initial plan was going to be, hit the underrepresented rom-com market, which by now actually has quite a lot of light novels coming out in it, that we didn't have before. But then you licensed the Isekai World Teacher, right? So is that initial plan to mostly hit the rom-com market still in place, or are you going to change it up and kind of go broader with it?
Well, I mean, I still remember what you asked me in the first interview, right?
Hmm.
And I remember what I said. I said that I am tired of isekai personally, but at the same time, I wanted to try how it worked, just to
Hmm.
see what are the results in comparison to a rom-com, right? I think the initial plan hasn't changed at all. Like you will, like it will be obvious once we start announcing new licenses. We have 5 new ones pending to be
Hmm.
announced, but like the initial plan hasn't really changed. We want to release things that people would consider new, right?
Hmm.
Because if we release, I go to another world and I get into the dungeon of the demon lord and we defeat him, right? Like that's
Yeah, yeah.
just another light novel. So yeah, like not like to be honest, nothing has really changed from that. Like World Teacher has been what I promised it would be, which is our test to see how isekais work, right?
Hmm.
And that's pretty much it. Like our focus will still be romance, school, slice of life, cute things, unique stuff. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, in the current light novel market, it is pretty unique. A lot of things in that genre don't really exist right now, at least in English. So, World Teacher, can you tell us a little bit more about it? I mean, I think as of recording this, you guys just released the first volume digitally, right? Can you tell us a little bit
Hmm.
about it in terms of like what it is and why you picked it and stuff like that?
I mean, World Teacher is actually quite the standard. It's quite the standard isekai in many ways, but it's really outstanding in others. It
Hmm.
follows basic tropes very well, and I think it's unique because first of all, it has 14 volumes, which is something you easily can't say of many series. Like not many series can actually achieve more than 10 volumes, especially being ones that are considered isekai, right?
Hmm.
And the second one is that it's very interesting because the character is in OP when he starts in the world, and I think it's very unique to see the characters grow. Like over the course of the volumes, the characters actually grow, but considerably, right? Let's say Sirius, which is the main character, he's like he starts being 10 at the end of the first volume, right? But I think at volume 14, he's 20 something years old, which is very unique and very interesting. He grows, his students grow, right? Which is something that people I think novels really lack that aspect, characters actually growing instead of actually staying stale with the same age with
Hmm.
and just seeing the characters do different things, adventures, like that's the unique spin. And well, it's just that it's an isekai about a special agent. He's like 60 years old, right? And he dies on one of his last missions, and
Hmm.
he's reincarnated into another world as a baby, but he still preserves all of his memories from his past life, which is interesting and helps him, from ever since he's a baby to actually start growing and becoming strong and be able to face the adversities that inevitably will come. Because the first book has drama, has its share of drama. So, and the rest of them too. It's a serious series, basically. What a way to what a way to see it, but it's very serious,
Yeah,
like
nice.
it's
Well,
not laid back at all. Let's put
hmm,
it that way.
okay, well, cool. That sounds really interesting. I'm looking forward to reading it. So now let's transition into more kind of like company-based questions here. Can you tell us in broad strokes, more or less, how the process works, like licensing to then translating to then publishing, and kind of like a general idea? Because I think a lot of us in the light novel community don't really know this, and so a lot of misconceptions come up when it comes to expecting things out of companies.
Mm, I guess it depends on
Hmm.
companies. Like if we had different departments and people specifically working on things, like on the small details, let's put it that way.
Hmm.
If we had people working on the small details, then I would be able to give you like something more complex. But I think it's way more simpler than people think. Like let's say I want to license this light novel series.
Hmm.
I go to the publisher by X means, I'm not going to specify, but we get in contact, we discuss a deal, and if it happens, then we sign, and then we pay the license, we get the data of the books, and once we get the data, we already have a plan in mind of when to release and how much is it going to take. In this case, I translate, and then once I finish translating, I just have an editor go through it,
Hmm.
and then a QA team, a small QA team. And once that is done, we typeset it and ship it. Basically, it's pretty much it. Like it's not really a very complex process. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
And then on the other side, we have like we produce the cover, we produce the books like we produce the physical books, we design them, right? But
Hmm.
that those are processes that either I do or someone else does with a set of guidelines, and that's it. Like that's for physicals, because then we
Hmm.
present the designs to the printer, they get printed, they get to the office, and from the office we send them to the people who bought them.
Interesting.
Like straight up is just it's a very simple process.
Hmm.
Like you can make it complex if you want, but it's
Okay.
like it's not rocket science, let's put it that way.
Okay, cool. Well, just to clarify, what's a QA team? I don't personally know what that is, so I assume a lot of people don't either.
I guess the roles, the conception of the role depends on company, right?
Hmm.
On some companies, QA is simply the role that goes after typesetting. It's someone who reads the book, and if he or she sees issues with the typesetting or small grammar mistakes that the editing
Hmm.
might have overlooked, then they get fixed.
Oh,
That
okay.
that's
So
it.
it's like beta readers, but they're like in-house.
Yeah, like the ones we have here in Tentai books are like perform more duties, basically. Like they
Hmm.
they are more involved in the process of translation. Like they get in direct contact with the editor, and then with the editor normally they cross check, and that's how the text gets improved, let's put it that way.
Okay.
um, it's basically that, yeah.
Nice. Well, I think you guys have probably done a lot of good work with that, because between the two volumes that you guys have released so far, Side Character and Diner of the Exiled, which is called Outcast Restaurant now, I think, right?
Yes, it
Um,
is.
Side Character had a lot of issues originally, and then when I read Diner of the Exiled, I think it was really good. There was like no issues there. I think you guys really did a really good job there, improving from one volume to the next. So that's pretty great.
Well, thank you. That's what we try to do. It's just we're still getting used to the
Hmm.
workflow. Like it's not something we can get used to very quickly,
Yeah.
but once we're still going, right? And
Mhm.
like in time things will have very few mistakes, if any, like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just a slow process.
Hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, if it's a learning experience and you're only able to put out so many volumes, you're only having that many opportunities to learn from it, right? So it is a slow process.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So, besides that, or kind of related to that, someone on Reddit was asking if you plan to minimize the gap of time between volumes of series. And specifically, they were asking because World Teacher has a 10-month gap between the first volume and the second one, which actually is is quite longer than the time you had between volumes of Side Character, if I remember correctly. So You have any thoughts on that?
I mean, we made the standard now recently.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, if you see the timeline, the release between Diner 1 and Diner 2 is exactly 10 months, just like side character.
Mm-hmm.
The issue we do this is because we are going to get new licenses, and we only have two translators, which is me and the other translator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in regards to World Teacher, the other translator is working on it, and he works with other companies right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather respect his wishes, and if he says, "Hey, like if you force me to translate this before this specific time, like the translation won't be as good, right?" So I would rather have him, translate at his pace and do things in the speed he wants, so the translation quality doesn't really decrease.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like I would rather make people wait than actually rushing the translation, than getting it out and then just getting slammed because the translation isn't good or
Yeah.
isn't as good as the first volume, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my logic behind World Teacher and my logic behind the other series as well. Like the other series is mainly because it's just me translating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like in time we are aiming to actually make them shorter, but what we also want to do is, since we offer physicals way earlier than other companies, we want to use that to our advantage.
Yeah, because
That's yeah.
you guys offer physicals like pretty quickly as opposed to other companies that take like 6 months to do the physical version, I think. Can't remember
Yeah,
exactly who takes that long, but yeah, I do know that there is a difference there. So
Yandre,
oh,
uh,
huh?
the others.
Yeah. So just to clarify, this is the same thing for both the Spanish side of stuff and the English side of stuff, right? It's basically all the same. You just have to change the language that you're using. Like the
Yeah,
everything works the same.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool. So um licensing plan wise, so you said that World Teacher is quite a long series, 14 volumes, but
Mm-hmm.
most of the other series that you've hit are rather short and actually almost brand new, right? So someone was asking if you're gonna license completely finished series, which I think you've answered before, but they wanted to know if that was the case.
I mean, that's a question that depends. Like, it really depends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, what publishers look for, or at least what I feel like we look for, are series that have potential to be sold, even if they have X amount of volumes, right? So, once, like, longer series are good, the issue is that when they get too long, then they might not be profitable. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
sounds horrible, I know, but like obviously if you cannot profit from a series, then what's the point in continuing it, right? It's just like it's the Japanese mindset. It's the same thing. Well, it happens the same with completed series. Most of them are either very long or in terms of big publishers, they wouldn't make as much money as they would like to, which is kind of understandable, Like if I was a big publisher and I spent the bucks on a big anime light novel of
Mm-hmm.
10 volumes, for example, but the anime aired like 5 years ago, I hardly see any reason why people would feel the need to buy the first volumes, which are the ones that cover the anime, and they would rather wait for the later volumes.
Mm-hmm.
But as for completed series, I guess it really depends. Like there are some series that are completed that I would love to translate and to work on,
Mm-hmm.
but mm, again, it's just up to it depends. That's how it is. Like as of licensing plans, yeah, the idea is to get new stuff mainly because otherwise we cannot compete with other companies. Like once it has a certain amount of volumes, the series becomes impossible to ask for to license because other company will come in and they will offer, even if they offer the same thing as us, like all companies are big right now, right? All the other companies,
Mm-hmm.
so we can't really compete. Like it's just impossible.
Yeah, everyone else
So
is bigger, has more money, they have a larger outreach. Yeah, it's understandable.
yeah, like we need we need to hit when they have either 1, 2 volumes, maybe even three, but three I see difficult. They have to have around 2 volumes. Otherwise, for us, it's just impossible to compete. That's how it is.
Okay, well, that's definitely understandable. I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Give me a second.
No
um,
worry.
what's I gonna say? Oh yeah, so yeah, I mean that is understandable that you have such you know, it makes sense that you wouldn't want to license something too long, because even in English marketing for books, the first book always sells a lot, the second book sells a lot, and then after that it starts to peter out, because as people read more of the series, the book loses interest of people along, you know, the publishing, right? So yeah, I can totally see that. We're almost done actually, so this might be shorter than 40 minutes. That's pretty good. Yeah,
We did it.
so what are you gonna say?
We made it. We made it.
Yeah, thank God. So yeah, can you give us a general idea about how your company looks slash works? A redditor was asking about the logistics of your people per department, but I think he was thinking that you guys are a really large company, so I'm not really sure. Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys look?
I mean, we're not really that big, so I guess we are here at the office. We're just three people, right?
Mhm.
It's me, Alvaro, who is over here. You cannot see him. Let me see.
Hello, Alvaro.
Voila. We have him. He helps us with website related stuff. And then we have Danny. Danny, ¿quieres decir hola? Hi.
Hello, Danny. Nice. And then you guys have a few
It's
other
us.
people, right?
It's us three basically. We work on marketing, website stuff,
Hmm.
a lot of things. Like here's where we decide future moves with licensing to that kind of stuff. And then on the translation side, I guess it's me, the editor. We have only one editor right now, and then we
Hmm.
have two QAs and another translator, which he works specifically for word teacher. And then in Spanish, it's me basically. It's just me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we're not the biggest of companies. Like I think some people actually mistake our actual size. Like we're very small. Let me assure you.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it was just kind of weird that they assumed that you guys were like this gigantic company, but oh well, whatever, I guess. So
It's
yeah,
good.
for the last final question, and maybe we can talk a little bit about other stuff later.
Sure.
As a kind of follow up to that, how do you guys like deal with translation and localization? Because you know, a lot of people get really angry over very minimal and kind of small changes that happen through the language. But there's a person that was asking if you guys do it in groups, if you do it with a discussion kind of thing, or if it's just one person does it and then it gets edited. You kind of answered
Mm,
this already, but if you
I
can give more
mean, I
details.
assume you mean the controversy that happened with what was it, the Classroom of the Elite, I think,
Yeah, it
or
was kind of that. I think that's what sparked the question, because it seemed kind of pointed. A lot of people have had problems with what was it, Mushoku Tensei and Classroom of the Elite, and how it's been kind of translated. And I think the problem was actually editing in terms of like making it viable for Americans. And a lot of people were angry about it. So the question was, um, how do you guys go about it basically? Like, do you try to keep it as close to the original, or do you try to make it more viable for American market, or for English market, or how does it kind of work?
mm, I mean, let me think about it for a second. Mm, I mean, there's things that you have to think about when translating to other languages, right? This
Mhm.
works out with everything. Um, like normally by localization, what I mean is that things you would find, let's say, cringy to read in your language, uh, like those things are taken out unless they only exist in Japan, right? Let's say I cannot translate sushi into
Mhm.
something else, right? Those terms stay. Like my goal at the very least is to offer the same experience as the Japanese readers have, if possible.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes this cannot be achieved, right? Because the different platforms in different countries or operate under different laws and standards. So obviously, sometimes you have to take out things. Like let's say there's a mention of rape in
Mm-hmm.
the I know which happens in many titles.
Yeah.
Instead of saying that word, you say a different word to express the same thing, right? To get
Yeah,
accepted.
euphemism.
Yeah, like the idea, like that's I guess that's the closest we do to censoring, even though we haven't really censored anything ever, and that's not the idea. Like that's not what we want to do. We don't want to take anything out of the novel. Like like the reader can interpret it like however he wants, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how the writer wanted the reader to feel in any case when he wrote that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like if anything, you just have to like change some words just to please some platforms, because otherwise it gets taken down
Mm-hmm.
and it's very difficult to actually come back. So I mean that's the only thing really, because in the process of translation, like it's very straightforward, right? Like there's nothing, like obviously within the translation itself there's a lot of thinking behind what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with honorifics? Most of the times you take them out, right? And we didn't do it for side character, for example, but that was an exception because the novel is set in Japan, and there are certain moments of the novel that would benefit from the honorifics being there. But it like I said, it really depends. Like what we want is to offer the same experience as the Japanese people had it. And I think what happened with those two novels, mm, is probably an isolated, an isolated
Occurrence.
exception.
Yeah.
Yeah, like where I come from, like the visual novel community, for example, I find it very interesting because here with light novels, I've never seen people really question the translation quality because they are very well written, right? The
Mm-hmm.
releases are generally high quality. But very recently, people have started to actually compare texts more, right? Which is very interesting because when in visual novels, there's always someone who is comparing the texts,
Mm-hmm.
and you are under a lot of scrutiny while doing translation, which is I personally do not like it because it's a way for you to get harassed easy in a more you
Mm-hmm.
get harassed a lot because of it. But at the same time, I think it's helpful in a way because it keeps the standards in check. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a double-edged sword in any case. Like the short answer to what you asked me is that we don't want to censor anything if possible. uh, like obviously we're not gonna censor parts of the story because that makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
It would be just word changes, if anything, and that's it. Apart from that, I think we offer the same reading experience as the original book.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, it seems like a very like interesting issue. I mean, you and I are both bilingual, so we kind of know that it's not exactly viable to like express the same idea in the exact same way across multiple languages, right? So,
Mhm.
in my opinion, getting mad over translation and kind of like localization is a bit weird because by translating, you're already changing the perspective of the book at least a little bit, right? In
Yeah.
my opinion, like
Um,
I'm not really sure because I don't express myself the same in English as I do in Spanish. And the way I view the world and kind of interact with it is a little bit different between each language. Even if it's like the same, it's still a little bit different in my opinion. But I don't know if that's fair, an opinion that other people share.
no, I think it's pretty accurate. Like I said, it's just like everything has its pluses and its like its negative parts.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything, and it's just translation is tricky. Like there's no correct answer when you translate. Like would readers prefer to read a more Japanesey version, or would readers like to read something that they more pleasing to the eye, let's say, and
Mm-hmm.
something according more to their culture, right? I think it's the former, just because when you buy a light novel, like people want to read Japanese stuff, right? If you wanted to read a light novel, like a normal light novel, you could just read like original English light novels, right?
Yeah.
But the Japanese ones have this distinct way of structure and how things work, right? And
Mhm.
that's what readers want, right? So censoring or not offering the closest experience possible at some point at the cost of maybe not localizing certain things, I think that's good. I think
Yeah.
in the long run it's better. It's what people want. It's what I feel people want.
Hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I am reading light novels. Personally, I read them because the English literature side of things doesn't have good young adult novels aimed at men, whereas light novels tend to be pretty good for that demographic. But yeah, I mean, I do read it because there's Japanese stuff, like the different tropes that Japanese literature has that English literature doesn't have. Totally, yeah, it makes sense. I would prefer to read something Japanese sounding and feeling in English rather than just an English book. So yeah, I totally get that. But yeah, I think that's it, unless you have anything to add. Can you tell us a little bit about the licenses that you're going to have? Can you give us another hint? Or by the time this releases, you have already really told us what the first license is. So can you tell us a little bit about that one? I'll cover my ears.
It's okay. I can tell you the second hint if you want.
Okay, what is
A
it?
a love triangle cannot be this immoral.
Oh my
There you
God,
go.
that's damn it, dude. I'm never gonna figure it out. I don't
Oh
know
no,
that much about the Japanese light novels in terms of
it,
like actually.
it's it's easy, man. It's been recommended tens of times in the server already. So Jesus
Okay.
Christ, no more.
Okay, well that's cool. Can you give us a little bit, you know, before we leave, I guess, some final thoughts about anything, any interesting things that the company's doing and stuff like that?
Mm, interesting stuff that companies do. I mean, my job consists of doing mostly boring stuff. So
Uh-huh.
honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Like we're just very busy with doing physicals right now because we're gonna do like a lot of physicals now.
Mm-hmm.
The recent releases that are coming up in March 26th. There you go, March 26th, and
Okay.
it's gonna be a fun ride basically. With some luck, you'll like we're gonna see a lot of good stuff this year coming from Tentai. It's like the licenses we got are very good, and I
Okay, that
think
sounds
the
awesome, man.
people who came to Tentai because they wanted rom-coms and school slice of life, they will be pleased at the very least.
Okay, sounds great, man. Thank you so much for coming here and for having a talk with me. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone else that's watching. I really appreciate you guys as well. Please leave a like, subscribe, and comment out below. Let me know what you thought about the interview. Let us know if you have any other questions for maybe a future interview, if Alex ever has time to do another one with us. And yeah, thank you guys very much. See you guys later.
Bye bye.